Introducing the easy unlock with your AT&T lock phone and T-Mobile. Give you one of the latest 5G smartphones for a free full net. These displays are great.
He's been with us since the beginning. He saved us enough in our insurance to help us open our second location.
Auto Owners offers a variety of discounts for life, home, car, and business insurance because they think the more you protect, the more you should save.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Vicky.
That simply common sense. As your independent agent, Auto Owners makes sense for you. It's a commercial.
Being the best takes hard work. It takes early morning, planning, precision, sweat, sacrifice, and teamwork. That's why Old Dominion Freight Line, one national LTL carrier for quality, works hard to be the best in the game. And as routes, those striving to be the best in their game. Old Dominion Freight Line, conquering the world, keep promising.
Our family was deeply
These brethren are loved. So people, they choose us. Leaders provide small. Excited to be home, Jeff Ryan of Louisiana. It's ViralRabbi. SEC football. Well, this fresh and rocking on the gives out about Alabama. This is just a fresh and out 35 Texas coming to town next week. This week, Nick Saban has only lost his over 3 times. By the way, one of those calls was he was at Michigan State. He was on State recently. Fullbacks to linebackers, defensive end guy, running game. So you have to complete, but then you can't advance it even if you want to. So they don't look back a yard and literally takes possession. Six. That's got to get one of Alabama defensive front is really taking over the game. You notice it in Tennessee trying to exploit the perimeter as much as possible. Some of those wings contemplated getting the ball quickly in the perimeter. They just kidnap this defensive front. And it lasts 2.5 quarters. Yes, it's a middle and he used it. Timeout to get to second, number 38 off the field. It's 2:38 off the run. Travis Smith is the number 1 reason for some reason. I hate it. You're really bad. See if they can sucker it off from Alabama has Luscious baked beans have always been the official bean of making burgers. Now, the official beans of the SEC. Official beans for burgers. It's totally fresh. Now, this guy is.
Why did we choose Safe Light? For us, driving around is the only way we can get our babies. So when our windshield cracked, we needed it fixed right. We went to safelight.com. There's no one else we trust. Their experts replaced our windshield and recalibrated our car's advanced safety system. They focus on our safety, so we can focus on this little guy.
Our family loves deep. Equal breath in our lungs. So we choose equals the life. Small. Everywhere. We ride big rides. So we right. Alright, up against Tokyo, let's take a look at the road to the championship. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Starting with the open down road, straight national title. Carson got five in the back. That's the first. Touchdown pass. 60. Georgia starter finishes with 284 yards and no touchdowns. Gets the shots. Loves his best players playing on special teams. Left ankle walk back to locker room at this point. Listen, the Diamond used to have second. Like Nick Saban wants his guys on special teams. Number one, you expect creating value for them to be more valuable the next. Yeah, no doubt. First down. There's something to be said for the game that's on the horizon. It's still, another non-conference game, but this is a good matchup for a team that has his eyes on recently college football player. I think that's going to set the tone. The last time before they come to the SEC, and it really becomes more of a rivalry. Last year was a nail-biter. Whatever happens this year is going to set the tone for Texas coming in to the SEC in 2024. 7-7. Sweet. City started not too long ago before the ball game in San Antonio, and we talked to him about Texas changing its recruiting philosophy by looking more like an SEC team up front. Have they accomplished that? I think the last 2 offensive line classes they put together have been pretty good. They got all 5 starters back on that offensive line. They have a first and second draft pick over that team. Defensive team linemen are on par with the majority of SEC groups that you're going to see. So that'll be a fun battle to watch next week. Tennessee in these quick screens to the outside. Maybe it's a really good job of reading that. Usually it's the outside guy that gets that screen, so he's going to block it. Tennessee switched up that time. The igers look really quick. Got to say, the quicker looking up. I keep seeing Deontay Lawson on the football. Like, it's crazy. The speed he has on sideline to sideline. He's been blown up the backfield left and right. Taking it down.
Very base content, right? It's not even faceless. He's a runner. So therefore, it's got to be criminal. Here's what I see. I don't see crime in our crime. But yet I still see trouble. I know, but that's not trying. I know that's like almost like an old school sweet totally, because there's a big indicator there. So again, one of these that I feel like the last one too was also kind of a little gray area. Although this is the second straight return, your kid's just got banged up on one way or another. And it's reminders, if you watch the play being made by the defender, targeting is not just in the game to protect the ball carrier, it's also there to protect the guy who's making the tackle. That was very dangerous. Yeah, he lowers his head like that. That's the indication. Forcible contact. There's no foul for targeting. There'll be first down on the hand at the 25-yard. So I was just about to say, lowers his head. There's the indicator. Forcible contact, but it was not ground, and that ground was redefined very specifically to take out the side of the helmet. The face mask is still violent, and yes, he's going to be here on Sunday. You can't get through like that. So Alabama will go ahead and take a look at that. Transfer. So there are definite benefits. We're talking a lot about how attacking Greece is probably this system pieces of it into what Alabama has done for years. So there's some terminology that we call it one thing, but that was different here. The entire time on the same page. He was definitely behind the eight ball in the quarterback competition for sure. Somehow he gets out of the new offense despite his other opportunity. Some of those things to expedite the learning process for Buckley. That's what he's got here. He's not just sustained pressure out of Georgia. He's just talking to us about Buckley's like, yeah, there was war. There was emphasis coming out of the street. We didn't want the entire quarterback group to have success, not just one guy. So he can help you that trains. Tommy Reeves is let's show it. He can be as fiery as a coach is out there. We've all seen the video demanding every opportunity. It's an emotional sport, right? That's what Buckner built Tommy so well. To translate, communicate a little bit of what Reeves is saying. Read between the lines. I just think that is so valuable in sports. You got to demand and challenge younger players and young players that you need some legacy experience to say, he was already back today. Let me take you along with you. And this is his impact when he's on the way through that. Stewart back to receive. Issue last year, Tennessee game resolution. Satan's got to be pretty happy with that aspect. There's still a quarter and a half here to go, but much cleaner game from Alabama than we saw at times last year. There are 2 fouls on the play on each team. Catch interference. Kicking team, number 19. Most times we all say it won't look like fourth down. Still a good one there. That's right. You need more right because this team has to go with it. We got one on the team. Well, tax that when you're calculating my taxes. Has to be mulligan on that one, maybe.
Look at the time.
So I'm running the trial again.
And it's easy to read with marketing.
You guys
I'm getting it.
Averaging 7 yards a play and only 5 yards a carry. We'll have another 32-yard mark. So check the digers down for Jalen Milroe. Made history tonight. The player with 2 rushing touchdowns and 3 passing touchdowns in Alabama history. Season 6 offense, I don't think that things and she likes college football. The Stars have arrived. I'll be drinking. And everyone wants a taste of fame. He needs to do that. He's cleaning up nonsense like this. The talent somebody please do something. It's a sign of the accelerator. Take it down. At the 40-yard line. Force. First ball of the ground.
Sean, I spoke with Tess Walker before the game. He told me he genuinely thought he would be able to play in this first game. He was shocked and in tears when he learned last night that he was still ineligible. You mentioned he had 30 family and friends who bought tickets. They still decided to come because they thought as of last night he would be playing in this game. His grandmother, who was ill, is even here. And he said it's been an emotional week, but he wouldn't be able to get through all of this for the support of Mac Brown in this community. He said it was so cool to see here at church wearing his jersey before the game. He's been in good spirits on the sideline. I heard him yelling up at some of the fans. My quarterback is going to win Heisman, so he's excited to catch some passes from him, Sean.
Grandmother had never seen him play in person. They were all hoping that was going to happen tonight. Shame on the MCA.
When you buy 10 tickets on Vivid Seats, you get the 11th ticket free. I wonder what my 11th will be. Living rent free at a hockey player house.
What's your 11th? Interesting piece. Bring your legs back.
So many scratches.
Those are from my car.
Such a rich history. This won't do well at auction, but at AT&T, it's with a brand new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5.
What about this?
AT&T's doing this big one. Everyone gets a free new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5 with a Galaxy phone tree. Any year, any condition.
Lord, have it as a snack, only $2.99. It's a hunger hack, and it fits in one hand. Having way. Introducing IHG One Rewards, 18 hotel brands, 6,000 global destinations, one loyalty program that lets you guess how you guessed.
A perfect morning calls for the perfect pairing. New Jimmy Dean maple cakes. Sweet pancake outside, savory sausage inside. Ready in minutes.
Looks like Vinny's dog took over our home, and he's using it to send out medical bills. That's gonna be for price. Did you just say again? He's talking about expensive health insurance doesn't cover. Take us back, Elizabeth. Say what's that? We just act like it's you like to help close that gap. How do we get this go out of here? One of my new homies.
Health expenses, health insurance doesn't cover. Is an official sponsor of ESPN College Game Day.
Elephant with a
Should we say we all did? On electric, we found Aria. Dual motor e-horse that helps with cruise control. And Pilot Assist 2.0. Or would you rather go with the flow? It's powerful sophistication. It's sweetness adventure. All new, all electric Nissan Aria.
Daily Bachelor, September 28th on ABC. The ACC Network football on Saturday, Wake Forest hosting Vanderbilt 11 a.m. continues to number 8 Florida State hosting Southern Miss at 8:30 Eastern. The game is available on the ESPN app, so you can watch anywhere. Phillips, the commissioner of the ACC, happy with the way this one is going. Carolina Tar Heels in command at the moment. 4.5 to go in the third quarter. Leading 31-14. Martin Hampton, the ball carrier. Jim was very happy about the expansion that was approved by the conference presidents on Friday. Welcoming Cal and Stanford and SMU. North Carolina had come out against it. They needed 12 out of the 15 to vote for it. North Carolina, Florida State, Clemson believed to have been against it. But it passed. Their strength in numbers. British Brooks to catch. Joined all sports. They're coming in with reduced payout, and they're not getting the same shares and media deals that the other schools are getting. 50% of the distribution that the other schools receive, that's what Cal and Stanford will receive. SMU foregoing any revenue from the conference with the exception of the college football playoff. Installed last season with a knee injury. The last game he played it was here against South Carolina, the Duke's Mayo Bowl 2 years ago. So much for North Carolina, and the rushing attack tonight has been cut back. That was one of the few times tonight that British Brooks and these Tar Heel running backs bounce into the out. There's a ton of room there. You can tell South Carolina's kind of playing inside, anticipating the cutback. Brooks saw it and turned it into a big game. 29 yards to 72, which is exactly what he rushed for against South Carolina, the Duke's Mayo Bowl here. At the end of the 2021 season, you saw the graphic, he had a 63-yard touchdown run in that game, which was the longest in Duke's Mayo Bowl history. Very popular player, as you mentioned, came unheralded, earned his way through special teams 2 years in a row, a special teams MVP, and now their lead ball carrier, along with Hampton, dividing the carries tonight. Under pressure, got it off into an interception. Picked off, South Carolina needed that, but Donald Fortune with the interception. Just an absolutely massive play for South Carolina. As you can see, Odie Fortune gets beat initially, but doesn't give up and undercuts the route after May misses just a little bit inside. There's great pressure applied by South Carolina in the front. As you can see, Stone landing, delivering a big hit today as he released the ball. That was a massive play for South Carolina. Almost a gotta-have-it situation. First turnover of the game for either team. Rattler comes on fire, low throw. Handled by Leggett for a 6-yard gain. Third career interception from Donald Fortune. He's had back-to-back games now. Had a 100-yard interception return for a touchdown against Notre Dame. Attack Slinger, Gator ball down. Lost Juju McDonald. David Rucker again with the penetration. Right here, up front by David Rucker. Let him slide inside. The right tackle. That's Sidney Goodbar. Drops McDowell in the backfield, just continuing to see disruption for this North Carolina defensive line. With Mike Goodbar, first year at South Carolina, transferred from Western Illinois. Too well to stay on his feet. He runs out of bounds in the first down. Chased up by Rucker, 11-yard pickup. Spencer Rattler. Big question for South Carolina coming into the season. Big tackles, wasn't able to hold up while they're getting pushed back into Rattler's lap. And that was a great job of stepping up in the pocket, finding a little time, and then taking off for a big third-down conversion. Wesley New, offensive line, right up front. Receiver has step into Megan Wicks. And coverage from Teddy Holloway. I wonder if he has any cramp after he came off the field. Ootd is back on the field for South Carolina. On the far hash marks, his first career catch in the first half. Nearly a quarterback. These Rattlers back up. Screen to Juju McDowell. And he's down short of the first down. Sean Lee, the center out there, helping lead the way. He's a first-year starter at center. And replace Eric Douglas, who started 38 games for South Carolina. In their Carolina defense, this might be an opportunity for South Carolina to try to take a shot over the top. Fresh set of downs in plus territory. This is a typical shot down. Rattler, final seconds on time. And they're going to call that a sack down before he threw the ball away. Desmond Evans was there for North Carolina. Senior who missed much of last year at Ontario. Not in only 7 games, I think he'll be better on defense in part because he has returned. And look at the move right here by Desmond. Look at him spin up inside against Jackson Hughes. Forces Rattler to the ground.
A force that moves every round. Intensity. It's really down inside. Full-time fans. Passion associated with remarkable fight.
Now, steak and meat combos are becoming as popular as abalone and onion. Just look at all these new limited-time combos, like steak and hot honey chicken or filet and snow crab. Mate, these bones and new combos start at just $16.99 for a limited time. Only at Outback Steakhouse.
Today, I'm doing the Degree Gray T-shirt challenge. Switch to Green Advanced Vanilla Spice to the test and see if I get any sweat marks.
Final result? Only one winner here.
No sweat marks.
Degree Advanced keeps working when others stop.
Looking for bladder leak protection that neutralizes odors and keeps you dry? Try new Depend Fresh Protection. It absorbs 25 times its weight and features Dry Shield technology that protects better than pads and keeps you 2 times drier. Try Depend.
Hey, I'm Elizabeth, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich is the collab of flavors: the sweet honey, the pickled jalapeno peppers, and the creamy pimento cheese. It is a perfect bite.
Hey y'all, this is Ronte, and a little thing I love about the Chick-fil-A honey pepper pimento chicken sandwich is the richness of the pimento cheese. When I took a first bite, I was like, go cheese, go pimento, go honey, go chicken, go get it.
We can count on the weather. We can count on Dish and our reliability guarantee. Did you ever lose signal? Contact us and we'll credit back your reliability guarantee from Dish.
And now, an announcement from the #1 most watched morning show.
We've got a million good reasons for you to watch TV in September.
Somewhere in America is about to get $1 million live on TMA.
I see how I did that. A million good reasons.
Don't miss the City Mattress grand opening of our new Cape Coral showroom. Shop today and save up to $900 throughout the store on mattresses, beds, sleepers, adjustable beds, and more. Plus, get free delivery and interest-free financing up to 36 months. Hurry in today and register to win a $5,000 shopping spree. The City Mattress grand opening sale is on now.
Congratulations! The first Bestest Academy Lives have just won the state championship game. Where are you guys going to go now?
We're going to get the circuit, baby! That's right, we're going to the owned and operated floor busters.
Dad, did you pay them to say that?
Real people, real pride, real quality flying. The floor busters. Keeping it real!
Get more weather with Jen Dickey. Weekday mornings on ABC 7.
Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear, celebrating the challenge of road teams everywhere. Are you ready for the road? Goodyear more driven. On to the fourth quarter we go. Bank of America Stadium, Charlotte. Duke's Mayo Classic. Tight game early. North Carolina opened it up in the third quarter. It was 17-14 halftime. It's a touchdown tonight. In the third quarter, we had a false start before Spencer Rattler could snap it on the first play of the fourth quarter.
False start. Offense.
Ty Moore, the right guard. I think they have a concern here going forward. The offensive line, they need to get it addressed big time. It doesn't help at all the Casey Henry went down in this game. These tackles have been pushed around by the defensive front last year. And they're taking their times. Throws it away. On the far sideline. North Carolina is 5 sacks tonight. The most they had in any game last year was 3 against Florida A&M. There is a flag now. Jeff Easley refusing to play. Number 20. As they want to get going before we get to 24. The completions to it. So we're up to the 49. Down by 3 scores. Charlie unable to run the ball tonight. South Carolina, 15 yards rushing. So they throw for the kid, trying to make it all right for that catch. And ripped it away from Oh my goodness, here look at me. This guy has been a completely different person since last year. He returned a kickoff against Texas A&M, and it's as if the light went on. The guy's playing insanely confident. Just an absolute monster. The ball is there. 6'3", 227. Defensive back, senior from San Diego. Returning starter. That doesn't look the flag. It's really about lifting the offensive player in the air and trying to throw him down. That is excessive contact. That's going to be called every single time. You have him held up. This forward progress is stopped. Just continue to drive and hang on as long as you can. If you need to pick him up and then throw him to the ground. First and goal, South Carolina, just outside the 6. Swing pass, Georgia McDonald tries to block. Back to Holloway. Without him in a starting corner, and not with the injury to DeAndre Boykins. They thought this redshirt freshman would be backup corner. Behind Marcus Hill and Elijah Hussey. Boykins out, Hussey moves to star. Holloway in at the other corner opposite Marcus Hill. Second and goal. It's on the right side, just inside the 5. If you're South Carolina, don't you have to pick up the tempo here a little bit? There's 13 minutes to go. You've got urgency at all on the offensive operation, especially with the struggles they've had on defense. I mean, the first 3 quarters of the game, giving up over 400 yards of offense. They've had some problems with balancing too. It's something to think about. Possibility of going into your third game on the game here. 13 minutes to go. By 17. Look like he might escape, but Kamari flicks it no. 6 for North Carolina. Just a great job. Every single one of the offensive linemen singled up with a pass rusher for North Carolina. Gene Chizik designed it to where everybody had a one-on-one. Kamari Fox, a guy they're very excited about, was eligible last year, but he's back. And as a newfound focus on football, they're very excited about the potential that he might display in the middle of that defense. Mitch Jeter has not missed a field goal as a college kid. He's now 12 out of 12. After 11 for 11 last year, it's a 26-yarder. Within 2 scores, 12-19 to go.
Hello, I took my hose. Wait, who do you even play for? Fatima. I'll get you protect wireless companies and blitzing your phone deals that suck you into a device contract. I'm just saying, Fatima. They have plans that make upgrades work for you. They even have a plan which makes you upgrade credit for you. Thanks, man. Not better thanks. Do the same. Excellent. Target your upgrades with our physical 5G plans and T-Mobile. Let's have a huddle. You don't know what huddle is. No. What's this? Who has less sports?
Good evening, man. Meet Jalen, who has live
Live TV. Place to watch live TV.
From big cities to small towns and main streets across the U.S., you'll find PNC Bank, helping businesses both large and small, communities, and the people who live and work there grow and thrive. We're proud to call these places home too. They're where we put down roots, and right together, we work to help move everyone's financial Farmers, Food, PNC Bank.
Typical insurance. You're just another senior.
That's the third health insurance commercial with seniors at a farmer's market.
Right? Don't get me wrong, I love a fresh heirloom, but it's like those companies think we're all the same.
That's why I chose Humana. Before I signed up, I spoke to someone who actually listened to what I needed. She told me about benefits that were right for me, like vision and dental, all in my budget. I finally feel in control. What are you doing? Taking control.
The more human way to healthcare.
Still more great college football coming your way this weekend. Tomorrow night, the biggest matchup of this weekend. Number 5, LSU. Number 8, Florida State. The Camping World kickoff game for Orlando. That's here on ABC, 7:30 Eastern Time. Florida State won a 4 last year. And then Monday night, the ACC battle. Number 9, Clemson at Duke. Capital One Labor Day kickoff on ESPN, 8 Eastern Time. Mike Elko, they won 9 games at Duke last year. They bring 17 starters back. Mitch Jeter kicks on. Here's Kevin McDonald.
TNT 5G studio update. Number 1 Georgia, the 2-time defending champs, pouring it on against UT Martin. True freshman Kyron Jones, the 26-yard pick 6. Bucks roll 48-7, and they face South Carolina in a couple of weeks. Back to you.
Yeah, South Carolina did get bucked up tonight to that one. Georgia put it on the last year. They're the favorites again in your mind. They are. And until proven otherwise, they are excellent. I think Carson makes a really adequate replacement for Stetson Bennett. Mario Hampton got blasted by Tebow Williams. What a hit. Unbelievable hit right here by Tebow Williams. You can see the ball didn't even see him. He hit so fast. Great athleticism and strength. Now is having a better understanding of how to hit the hole as a linebacker. He has 13 tackles tonight, Tebow Williams. 43 all last year. He's intercepted. Into the intended target.
No.
Change this number. You saw it really on his jersey. He's ordinarily number 13. But wearing number 48, we're pretty sure it's Kawan. A huge play. A couple of interceptions. Hoping to get the Gamecocks right back in. Just it's played by Banks. As you see the ball trying to hit the back shoulder, he leads him a little bit too far upfield, which forces Pacer to kind of reach. It's tipped up just ever so slightly. And how about the concentration of Banks reeling it in? And he's up the sideline. Just a massive play for South Carolina. I might take a shot right here. First career interception with a sophomore from Tallahassee. Rather throws it away. Under duress again. This offensive line just having all kinds of trouble against the strong fronts that they think it's strong. Last year, it's not strong. Now Fox has his jersey. It's an illegal formation. Dogs not on the line of scrimmage. 3-by-1 to the right. They're trying to take shot plays. That's a perfect example. Sudden change plus territory. You take a shot. That's exactly what South Carolina's trying to do. There's been 3 or 4 instances where they've had chances to throw it over the top, but their offensive line just can't hold up right now against these pass rushers for North Carolina. One of those 14-point comebacks was against Clemson. Last year, that Clemson, the regular season finale, and the Street Classic, they couldn't again. That play was speeded up by the pressure from the defense. Trying to execute the screen faster than they should be. Because they have to. Sometimes the best way to neutralize an aggressive pass rush. North Carolina's been very aggressive tonight. Screens, draws, and cadence. We haven't seen them really use a lot of cadence. They're obviously on the cloud, but I think about a draw at some point. Close to the first down. Yard short. Shoved up by Hussey with help from Holloway. 6 catches, a career high 133. Xavier again. South Carolina. 3rd down and 1. Juju McDowell. Interesting in the short yardage situation. They give it to the running back who's 5'9", 180. D.K. Schrader's first career start as a running back hasn't been able to get any traction at all. He's 23 yards rushing on 12 carries. He's a much bigger back at 229, 6th-year senior. He's back in at running back. Quick throw and catch. Out of bounds near the 15-yard line goes He's also number 13. That's the reason why. He's in the must have opened out there the same spot. It's interesting that North Carolina's getting home, and yet their secondary is playing very soft, giving up the run game underneath. And there it is again. Nice catch by Joyner, wide receiver last year. Muzzy stops the play at the 12-yard line. We're under 10 minutes to go. Pass rush is really, really good. If I'm the defender, I want to get up into the face of the wide receiver. I want to force him to take a couple of seconds or a half a second to release, which will allow my pass rushers just an extra half second to potentially get home. So why they're playing soft coverage when South Carolina's having a difficult time blocking doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Under 9.5 to go. 2nd and 6 and this is 4th down territory against another field goal. But this junction doesn't do them much good. Trying to break down the 2nd down. Good tackle by Power Eccles. Stopped it for a 1-yard gain. Huge 3rd down here for Shane Beaver and the Gamecocks. They're only 4 out of 11 on 3rd down. Rattler 19 for 26 for the game for 254. Joyner, the running back, he goes on the post pad. Rattler can barely take the snap. He throws it away. With the Ricker right in his face. One grounding penalty on the North Carolina sideline. And here comes the flag. They're going to hit it. What do you do? I mean, that field goal doesn't really help. You're down by 14 points. But this is not exactly a manageable 4th-down situation. And watch the right tackle here. This is Sean Wanamaker. He slides in. He's responsible for number 25, Keenan Rucker. Instead, he slides in for some reason. He must have not hit the ball. Keenan Rucker is coming free off the edge, and Spencer Rattler gets no choice. Going for him, 4th and 19. That's time, but that throw is way short. That line again. Small out of bounds, and they'll turn it over on Dennis. And Shane Beaver seems perplexed. You almost wonder if you should kick a field goal. Because that was a low percentage play. It's really low percentage when you throw it that far short from the line of the game. Or you know, what can I do? It says Spencer Rattler. Somebody please block for me.
My name's Jorge Gaviria, and this is my business, Hacienda. We bring heirloom corn products from Mexico to every dish. I chose my Smart Cash Plus card from Capital One because I earn unlimited 2% cash back on everything I buy. With no preset spending limit, my purchasing power adapts to meet my business needs. And I reinvest my 2% cash back to help grow our business with new products, like our tabletop masa mill. My Spark card helps me fulfill my mission of bringing masa to the masses. What's in your wallet?
We don't know any first responders. 90% were farmers, the workers who built our town. Infrastructure. They didn't stop it halfway. And good luck finding a owner who's happy with an 80% effort. That's why they use Ford trucks. Ford F-Series, 100% assembled in America. Because we're all in on America.
Can't sleep.
It's a lot on my mind.
I can't sleep either.
And it only gets tougher with age.
What?
Well, knowing progressively protect your home auto or business should help you relax.
Yeah, because I can use a good night's sleep. Me too. You know how long it took me to catch up every day?
Is this on the tree?
Why would you think this is my dream? I am America's biggest spokesperson.
It's debatable.
I said biggest.
Oh, it's good.
It's time to do the tough father and father. We're raising the bar. Now I want to see what you're really trying to do for a Klondike. So get together. Go for the bar, sandwich, or cup. Go for the bar. Hashtag Flash Klondike.
Unofficially, it's for you see. Cruise Life, the official beer of everything unofficial.
When you travel adventure, it's more of a business adventure. It matters where you stay.
And there's one
Doubletree by Hilton. Hilton for the stay. Wendy's and breakfast 2 for $3 is so good. Crew is giving every combination coaching.
Sauce biscuits and plain chicken.
Eggman and saucy bullet.
2 hot coffee service. No matter what you call it, Wendy's breakfast is that breakfast. Choose Wendy's new $2 daily bundles.
Classic. Saturday Night Football. Right here. What's in your wallet? Well, Matt Brown has said throughout the preseason, our defense is going to be better. Our defense is going to be better. It's a lot of the same guys on defense who didn't play very well last year, but they are better. 17 sacks all of last year. 7 tonight. And that relentless pressure all in long against Spencer Rattler. They've held South Carolina to 2 yards rushing on 28 attempts. Brooks. 10 and a first down. Jalen Kilgore tripped him up, an 11-yard pickup for Brooks. He's coming up on a 100-yard game. 84 yards rushing. Outside the interception for May. Pretty dang impressive performance. All around offense. The balance that they're showing, being able to establish the line of scrimmage, his body frame has been under a lot of duress. 0 sacks given up. Rock solid start. Chip continuing off the corner. Brooks carried again. Jordan Strong was in on the toe. Those returns should be a boost for South Carolina defense. 2 games last year. Ripped up his knee. That's when they dropped number 7 there, the left-handed defensive line. 7.5 to go. Another interception. DQ Smith deflected it and flew in the general direction of O'Donnell. trust your quarterback. He's so good. Since his time as a starter last year, but at this point, a little bit questionable with some of the decision making. So it would be a high percentage throw right here to throw at the line of scrimmage, see if they can pick it up after the catch. But it's looking like pressure from South Carolina. Letting the play clock go down, run to 5. Quick pressure, he got it off quickly to pace some work. Take it down by Taylor. Started on the field and probably right now. He should be asking for a timeout. He has all 3. There's a long way to go. That's a big stop for his defense. And be really careful here if you are North Carolina, because you know South Carolina is coming after this punt. You know that about it. So, each of the last 2 season openers, South Carolina blocked 2 punts. 2 against Eastern Illinois, and Shane Beamer's first game as head coach at South Carolina. 2 last year for touchdowns against Georgia State. You can't block one when they don't punt. That's the first punt of the night for the Tigers. It's a fair catch by Lewis. 39-yard punt. 6:35 to go.
Like it or not, you look kind of well, and
We should never let a hand out of the box.
Selfie, you my friend?
entertain only Peter September 29th.
You're never responsible for unauthorized purchases on your Discover card.
Saturdays are about 2 things: heading to the Home Depot
And welcome to College Game Day, built by the Home Depot.
watching football.
What a smooth handoff.
Watching a lot of football.
You're taking that to the house.
Nice technique.
Even football here.
And football snacks.
Home Depot and College Game Day.
Yo, perfect shot.
Upgrade your house and premium plus interior space at the Home Depot. Outdoors get more intimate.
When football was introduced, all the boneless wings were a thing. Now they are a thing. And eating $5 boneless wings with fries is the most popular sport in America. All the
And only one thing, he makes it more likely hearty. Presentation, breakfast, eggs, bacon, sausage, cheese, potatoes. And when you finished, you know you had something to eat.
Let me be direct. You're watching football wrong. When you call the guy in face paint that can't get the game a clown.
So what's it easy to do? No, just give me a second.
Amateurs.
Sorry, everybody.
Sports says CU access to every game. So you never have to compromise on it.
Just for straight one. That's just a Sunday ticket on us. We have $400 reward card.
Start your day with Nature Vitamin, the #1 pharmacist-recommended vitamin and supplement brand.
He's Gary, the Golden Bachelor. September 28th on ABC.
This update now for our Dr. Pepper fans. Little studio update. Let's go to Happy Valley. Number 7 Penn State hosting West Virginia. They love this kid, Drew Allen. Malik McLean. Allen had 3 touchdown passes, 31. Make that now 33-13 right now, Penn State. Sean, back to you.
A lot of people like to have a chance to win the Big Ten. Is I don't want to say dark horse break, but that's a very talented Penn State team. Still Ohio State, Michigan in the Big Ten. Again, another catch, good for 12. But there's a flag down back behind the line of scrimmage, and they're coming back. And the tackles have had their problems. There's Fugar. Transfer from Western Illinois, his first game as a Gamecock. That we're watching right now, but it really is. These guys are concussions for Carolina, North Carolina. All off season. Joyner the catch. They have a new left guard, Edgar Jula, number 69. He transferred in from Yale. They were very impressed by him in the preseason. He was the team captain. They had only one captain, so what an honor for him. Jason Henry is starting right tackle on out early. Tyshawn Wanamaker is in. Number 62, he was a big recruit. As a crew, they got him done. Keep waiting. Here's McGinn again. Having an enormous night now. That's 23 more for Xavier McGinn. Nice job of Spencer Rattler. Still, those edges are starting to collapse. He stepped up with a lot of intensity right there. And looking into the little shovel pass, and he's out the door. Short set, looking again. Trying to dance away. He stepped out of bounds. Chapman did enough. The stop him at the 35-yard line. 12 more. That's 9 catches, 177 yards for the game. And then he needs a rest. He's over on the bench. And out of gas. 5-man rush. Big slant. Trying to get him. Hangs on the ball. 24 yards on the completion of Judy, who has started 6 games at quarterback in the past. He was one of those 4 starters 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, and should be.
It's an interesting history. It's got a lot of history too. So let me see if I can get my history lessons. He's quite developed 2 years ago. By his smart chain, and originally I was hearing about it was intended. And one of the devs of dad's got kind of pissed, and so they made a different one, and they turned the exact opposite of very what was intended to do. They needed Trump, negative 10 pico, Ethereum, and they had a bit of a battle there to see if we get the highest market cap. Bitcoin won. I think ETR has at the time, a lot of people were on Africa. So fast forward 2 years later, like people some and Bitcoin was launched again. Probably not by the original days. They launched this one right. It does really well. One of the other devs, that's when somebody was there at the beginning, which is right. And all of the time, Trump bought like 69 Ethereum. So that's when I got a bunch of those. So I wasn't really a Bitcoin adopter. I had a shit ton of paper in it. I grew up on the mid days. During the downturn, I bought a fuck ton of this. I got them because I thought it was good. People were going to be looking for this cycle. And that turned out to be true, so I made a lot of money when that happened. But really, it was just having fun of some of the variables and some of the different ways. We were just in the telegram just shooting the shit with a big truck that surprised. And I thought it was fun. Over 1 NFTs, they're so ugly. It's like they're called spread. Because they tried to name them Spirit Bird all the time, and they had a contract with the Telegram around the doors. I saw these other blocks, and I was like, I got a couple of them, and I was like, I can make an uglier NFT and be really funny if, I made an NFT that was ugly, but I kind of got this whole theory or, idea that the corollary NFT would try to eat them. And I thought that it would turn one, thought would eat, sell a prize or whatever. This was all just for fun. So I developed the spread. The spread is it's and it did very well. That drop was hacked. I released it for free for like 2 minutes. Some artist that made a script that just made a bunch of infinite Gary vlogs and then funded them and then bought out the whole project and and so I made a lot of money. I made some money from the sales of the royalties, but needless to say, that was a lot of fun. And then we developed kind of this war around how the spread is not really spreads. And so I had the first base that I ever held. We had an Inoki apostrophe spread that I'm learning from the spread. So that's right there. The price was 1.3 or something. I said, oh, like 0.5 was pretty substantial. We got a price from that. I was invited to do a cage match with Yanix. It was one of the other big and so I was like, he's been ostracized since Jazzy Bottom. And that was one of the ones that you notice is Currencies, which is now, I renamed it Overture. If you go to that OpenSea site, there's these secret texts that you have sort of reading these different events. So there's one for the cage match, there's one for gosh, somewhere near we recruited Mid-Kala and Brighton, really big shows from Nigeria. And we ended up doing we had to type the by hand NFTs. This wasn't like all we do. And it's funny because it's all kind of a blur to me, and I have to probably go back in my mind and look back and see what been a lot of fun. And so I have this these habits that I make the secret text NFTs just so I know other people. I'm always going to have my camera. And so the vlogs that students that they usually commemorate some happening that's been around where, it's some sort of event. So for instance, the vlog 5 that we just released at the Kroger in the desert, by the way. That vlog 5 is talking about hearings, right? Getting really interested. It's kind of like for fun. But like if you've been into it, you know about it. It's a big laugh and wonderful. That XBT, it's been a lot of interesting, fun times for us. So that happened, and during this time, it became obvious to me that the developers that happened was just cheating to the ability we would get just even a little bit of a bump, and the insurance would just take me. And I have no control over it tokens. I didn't know anything about them, but I knew some of the players, and it was obvious that they were just pushing the chart over and over again. And I was like, I can't devote my time and energy and effort to something like this if I don't believe enough for the developer. So me being kind of an amateur programmer, I just said, okay, I'm going to make my own product. So the negative 10 year years. And so we had a launch. The launch became fucked up because for some reason the taxes were locked at 15% buy, 15% sell, and 15% transactions. So we had a little trust exercise, and everybody sent me their tokens, and then I gave them their tokens back. I think that's one of the reasons you saw a lot of people cheating, and maybe that's one of the reasons we didn't make it to the 5 million market cap, because a lot of people got interested because they were really consuming, which is fine. That people made money off the project, that people are still in the positives. I think that's I can now. After we did that, though, they a lot of people basically copied us, and these people, they would release these huge names. Influencers, they saw our success, but they really knew how to just market their shit. And so they were able to reach more people. People lost money. Kind of bad. See, this is exactly what we're trying to stop. Because I mean, I think that they have a contingency that's making other coins. They're definitely making other NFTs too. I got some criticism that I should stop making so many NFTs. But then you look at the fucking gorillas, the big people are making like Sparta cats, like Sparta ladies. Like it's kind of fucking weird. And none of those NFTs did quite well. The only ones that we've done which are actually like related to them are like TRILLIONAIRE heads, and then even the hands that go sold out. The owners made some money. I didn't take any profits from the hands, by the way. I gave that all to Mandela and Biden. And then the next day, they started asking me for rewards. Greedy motherfuckers. Like, oh man, can I have some brief language? Do you think I'm being fucking evil? They asked me to help them launch a coin. They wanted to launch the people's bank. It's like, I can't help you guys anymore. So I'm kind of, I miss them in a way. And in a way, it's like, I just can't use that as money for my family. So, but that's what shows too. This is their prayer. You pay these people like $10 a week and go to your chat, like, spam the Telegram or something. It's funny because I like my rivalries so much. I want a little bit of both. I got ones over there. I can't buy them over there. Sproto originals, I just too much pricey, but look, they're really ones where they, I had one of you that collects them. I got a little tiny bit of it. I got a little tiny bit of it. I spent most of my basic on that's nothing. Like I said, I'm an NFT that's really cool. Like that's kind of the name of the game. So I'm an NFT guy. So that's one of the reasons why you'll see me kind of doing this. And I'm friends with some artists, and so I'm basically able to get them to commission work like really good artists better than me because I do a lot of AI stuff. But they're actual legit artists. And so, if we get this, if we make this what I envision it, like people are going to be, they're going to be excited to kind of participate in it. I don't envision it being like very lucrative in the beginning. I envision it just being fun. That's mainly what I'm trying to do because if it's fun and if it attracts people,
Maybe they're having a go
the
wild
secondary
card.
markets will take over. People want those, and then price action
This one is
becomes,
wild to me.
advertising. Because I think that at the end of the day,
No,
that's
just
why a
another
lot of
thing.
people are here.
I
We're
think
kind of
these
this
are guys
downward
arguments so
sort
bad
of
on the
wedge
domain
right
and this
now.
guy.
I think, I don't know if we will plateau. I don't know if we'll get another leg up. But I do have it over time, and people are gonna take notice of us just like you did, because our game, our Twitter game, and our followers, they're just so fucking driven because it's funny. This stuff is hilarious. We have this rivalry going on with Bitcoin. We have a rivalry going on with Monero. Monero just tanked because their main shiller Huey just like denounced them, and I feel I'm on the edge. I don't know if that's like real or not. They've done so many like fake runs and like other stuff. I think they just like they're just doing shit for attention. Yeah, I know they did a bunch of fake runs. Yeah, there's no telling. And so I really wish that the best work. Like I'm not friends with Kim Jong. I'm not friends with Huey by any stretch of the imagination. Huey actually bought, was it like 30? I want to say 30 grand worth of her token. And then cheated it at like the top and went to a crush or a momentum. And he did that because I had Bitcoin down to like all some warlock basically laid down and told him he couldn't do that shit. If anybody notices, the price of Monero has fallen drastically. They were like patting themselves on the back because they got ahead of us there for a little bit, mainly because they were buying back their chart. But now when it all comes out in the wash, we're ahead of them. Meant to be ahead of them. I think that the other Ethereum is still showing some signs of life, and that's mainly due to price action. But they're not going to survive I very much like for sure. They are. That's exactly what it is. What was it? XRP. The guy was something like he was like burning millions and millions worth of tokens. Like how stupid are you? I don't even know if their liquidity can handle that. But it's. I don't know if their price actually increased because of that. I feel like it was just something that people were, maybe it's a little bit. We have all our coin slots and like multi-sig. We have some that are held aside for the centralized exchanges. And then another thing that we're going to do is we have to celebrate the death of Gen X. I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but I was invited to this other coins sort of room, and he just fucking spammed, get rid of him, you fuckers here, and get him the fuck out. Like, he's got some problems, and apparently they kicked him out of there. I'm gonna post this online now, so I posted it somewhere, shit, so it's in the Discord right now. Come on, friends. And then I posted the vlog. So Don Carlos, I posted your vlog in the chat, and you went ape shit. Nothing I did so fucking crazy. I don't know if I guess everybody's basically saying that if I just can't put it up in the chat, so it's just we still are ROTHSCHILD relics, by the way. So yeah, we're gonna get off of there. I was waiting. I think the cord fed's on there. 16 is on there. Pro's on there. Yeah, so we're getting off of this while this is supposed to be Gen X's going away party. This is tonight. We're gonna throw him a funeral. So I'm actually gonna invite Rabbi up here.
What's going on, pimps and players? How you living? I'm kicking ass, taking names. It's the kickoff of the college football season. Hope you all got your fantasy picks ready for the pro football season, which starts in a week. We are the ultimate sports fan. We're the ultimate shiller of this coin. Voldemort, Trump, Robotnik, 10, Nico. I've been wearing the pajamas now, going on 27 days with no end in sight. I have my goal at 100 days. I have at least worn the pants now for 26 straight days, and I wear the top when I can. It's just a little hot for the top, but yeah, I've never worn a set of clothing this long, and I have been doing it on 6 different streams on YouTube. Now, I've been streaming my life online for the past 2 years, all day, every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and I've been doing it in the nicest gift that anyone's given me in Web 3, Web 2, or Web 1. I really want to tell Schizo Currency how much I appreciate the gift of the pajamas, and I have put them to good use. So with that, thank you for allowing me to be here.
It is now 8 o'clock.
Most certainly, the one that we say particularly a few times a day, also before we go to bed, and also if anything is ever going to occur that may be endangering our life, we say the Shema. So I would feel privileged to say that for you all right now. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. That essentially is a calling for all of Israel that there is one God, and essentially we should all follow that God. And additionally, at the end there, if uh, if you can hear, there's a little addendum that we add to it. Perhaps if any of us said it incorrectly, it's for God's forgiveness. So that's a basic breakdown of what that is. We Anybody want to talk any futurology? I think we're moving towards it, and technology is advancing us at a quicker pace than at any previous time in human existence. It most certainly is. We're currently in an age of AGI, artificial general intelligence, which is impressive, but what really is going to be mind blowing is ASI, artificial superintelligence, which is intelligence that is greater than what the human brain can essentially compute. And once we get regular artificial superintelligence within our daily lives, that is when we move into a world that is like essentially uh, what you would see in movies, in A Born Identity, An Enemy of the State, in Terminator, in Blade Runner, in They Live. That's that kind of world, and we're moving towards it very quickly. I have, in fact, I haven't seen them all. I do stream it on my live stream. Is it the one about someone who streams their life? I think that that is the future that to which we're moving, towards which we're moving, and I think that essentially I may be an example of that, as I have more data on the internet than any person in global history, and data is Earth's number one resource. So if they were ever going to use any one of an example of that, it would be I would be a great example of that. You know, people have raised that question to me, like, how do I plan on monetizing this? And really, I think that I would be able to do endorsements probably until I got sick of it. Essentially, what I feel will happen one day is the right people will learn about this stream and realize that, wow, we have a real life Truman show here. This is more data than any person has ever had in global history. It is essentially the Earth's timeline. Going back to the pandemic, we have the death of a queen, the birth of AI, the coronation of a king, and everything in between. You can see my life in 360 degrees, and people I feel will study this, and I will easily be able to do endorsements for companies. And so my plan is actually to give away the data. I want it to be studied at a universal level. I want people to be able to study it for its biometric opportunities. I want people to study my sleep patterns, my circadian rhythm, my bathing patterns, my eating habits, my sleeping habits, everything about the human body I want to be studied. And so my plan is to essentially give away the data and in exchange do endorsements for companies. Well, I'm not familiar perhaps with that. I do know Justin TV became Twitch, which was later sold to Amazon for over $900 million. Where Justin, the guy from Justin TV, he recorded his life for 1 year and then sold it, and that's how Justin TV got big. But please inform us about Jenny Cam. I agree. It is something called, it's not live streaming, it's life streaming. And while people have done this, generally they haven't streamed it, the raw footage to the internet. And if they so it all started basically, people would videotape it, and then from there, essentially, they may have it digitized on some kind of storage device. Then from there, people might stream their life. But what's different that I do from all of it is mine is streamed and archived. So what makes mine key is that you can go back and literally watch day by day, month by month, year by year, everything that I have done. And I just don't do it on one stream, which is what most people do. I do it on 6 different. So you can watch me in 360 degrees. That's just on YouTube. I also am live streaming live on Twitter right now, and I'm live on 7 different Instagram accounts as well. I make sure to have redundant streams. My internet, as you can imagine, it gets throttled. My router goes down. I run into all kinds of internet issues, but what I do end up doing is having redundant streams so that in case any of them go down, perhaps I always have another stream going. And at a minimum, I'll have at least one, but at a maximum, we have over a dozen streams going at any given time. What I've done my best to do is not just stream myself. I mean, I'm great, just like all of you are, but I can only do so much to entertain people. So certainly we're on Twitter Spaces talking to the people about futurology, about world peace, about cryptocurrencies, about NFTs. I really think that this stream, once it gets big, people will learn, and it will take cryptocurrencies and NFTs in particular mainstream. But I've done my best as well to archive the world's art. So what does that mean? Everything from the major audiobooks that are available, so that would be Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, Jane Austen, and you name it. If it's on audiobook, I've done my best to listen to the major podcasts, but then also the major movies and documentaries. So in addition to just streaming myself, I have reaction videos to all of these things that I stream. As of right now, we're currently watching one of the Terminators. We're watching college football, and we're watching a television show known as Superstore that aired on NBC. Prior to Superstore, we watched all of the Cleveland shows. Before that, we watched all the Family Guys. Before that, we watched all the Sopranos. Before that, we watched all the Curb Your Enthusiasm. Before that, we watched all the Seinfelds and so on. Basically, so I've done my best to go through every single stream and every single series and watch all of them. Now, what gets interesting is being able to do this and not get copyright strikes. I mean, how am I able to avoid copyright strikes? I mean, doesn't the NFL come after me for not getting, the express written consent? And doesn't Time Warner and Columbia Pictures? Well, what I have ended up doing is I play essentially white noise in the background, just like a repetitive song in the background that I'm able to drown out, but that essentially tricks the YouTube algorithm into not recognizing that I'm playing copyrighted material. So in order to avoid all the copyright strikes, and I've gotten copyright strikes, trust me, don't think I haven't done it in the past, but I've been able to learn how their algorithm works probably better than any person ever. I've gotten many accounts that have been terminated, so I have done my best to avoid that. And I haven't had an account, thankfully, terminated in the last 2 years. But when I first started doing this, I did it the way I would normally live my life, which is a lot of times I would be nude. I'd be changing clothes and things like that. And so I lost my accounts due to nudity, but I have been able to avoid that for the most part. I still change in things, but I just do my best to avoid being directly on camera when I do that. And then also, I was just showering live on YouTube, completely naked, and YouTube doesn't want those kinds of things. But I've learned there, YouTube it certainly doesn't want you to spam things, so that's why I have so many different accounts, so they're not all in one account. It doesn't want you giving health information, so I've done my best to avoid that kind of discussion. And then it doesn't want you to play copyrighted material, of course, as I just said. And so I've done my best to avoid any kind of strike by playing essentially multiple pieces of media at once, and it works. I mean, I was watching the Alabama game with someone from Alabama. We were just watching University of North Carolina versus the University of South Carolina live. I mean, basically, if it's a sporting event, I've been watching it because I want to capture this. We watched the Little League World Series, all the games of that. We watched the Women's World Cup. We watched the Men's World Cup. You name it, I stream it. Yes, most certainly. So I really feel as if when this gets well known, and it will, one day something will happen, and it will be like somebody flicking a switch, and it'll be, I feel, a global sensation that we have all this data, that you can watch this person, that you can connect with the person. I imagine many movie studios and such won't be thrilled that I've done this, but there is a clause within the YouTube um, the YouTube privacy policy that will, I feel, allow me to actually two clauses. One is the Creative Commons license, and then also you're allowed to stream things that are considered newsworthy. And I really feel as if what I'm doing is newsworthy, and once it becomes what I hope to be eventually a phenomenon, I'll be able to avoid any kind of issues legally with those companies. But even if I am unable to, the worst they can do is take down one of my streams, and I have another 6 different streams going, or 5 different streams going that aren't necessarily focused on their content. And as well, I make a very good argument. There are people who do reaction videos all the time on YouTube, and they're not taken down. And in the same way, I'm not. I'm the primary person on these streams. It's not as if I'm just doing only streaming the video. No, it's my reaction to these things. But I do imagine eventually, what I'll end up doing is what you're talking about. Painting. I do play guitar. I play ukulele. I play kazoo. I play harmonica. So I play some instruments. I sing a lot of karaoke. In fact, I have thousands of videos on Instagram of me singing full songs because I mean I gotta pass the time in one way or another. So I imagine that, and those are allowed at least from Instagram standpoint. So I imagine that there will be perhaps this will be interpreted in a positive light for many of these companies, particularly the artists, because at that point they're going to be connected to history. Essentially, it would be as if you ever saw the movie The Truman Show. Just imagine that person and the connection that he had to the world, uh, endorsing your product or singing your song. They're going to want me to do those kinds of things, I feel. One thing that I'd like to do, though, once this gets big, is to help those in need. And so, some of the first things I plan on doing is traveling to, of course, like the developing world, but also in my own state. I live in California. I want to help people on Skid Row. And so we have some really creative ideas in order to help people there, help the homeless with container housing in the desert using air conditioned units. I think that is perhaps a really good idea for helping the homeless in any city, really. But then additionally, I want to help people in the developing world through World Hunger, and I want to help them with vertical farming, hydroponics, cloud seeding. I want to help with world thirst by wells, by desalinization plants, by life straws. There are all kinds of really interesting things that we discuss on the stream that aren't normally discussed, like ufology, anti-gravity, antimatter, life extension technology, transhumanism. And so I feel basically once people are aware of this stream in mass, I'll be able to do whatever I'd like. And so certainly art is one of those things, and including painting. Most certainly. And you should know that I promote, I mean, by just wearing the pajamas that you have gifted me, um, I really think that these will be famous. And I really feel as if the logo will be famous. I also, when I'm singing these songs behind me, I make sure to have my shirt so that it's basically in every song that I've almost ever sung, at least in the background, or whether I'm wearing it. I mean, we've got the daily posts that we do every day as well. And so we're going to make this frog like creature basically a household name. And we're going to make it something that people are really excited about. So I do know that we have competition and we have rivals in the NFT and cryptocurrency space. And I really see them as allies that a rising tide lifts all ships. And so once somebody becomes the catalyst for cryptocurrency, and I really feel like I could be that, I'm going to make sure that we all get famous and that we're all able to reap the benefits of this. And I really think that every person in this room, and really anyone who has cryptocurrency, you're going to be very wealthy people, and particularly if you have NFTs that have floored. I feel as if you should hold on to them. You should look at this in macro terms, not in micro terms. I'm someone who doesn't see my life as, this may sound strange to people, but I don't think I'm going to die. And I don't think the people in here will die. And what do I mean by that? There's something called mind uploading, which is a scan of your brain. It's currently in hypothetical. Uh, uh, it's currently a hypothetical technology, but we're moving very quickly towards making this a reality, where they scan your brain and you essentially know where every atom is in the brain, and that information is stored on a database for later download into a robot, into a cyborg, into a uh, a clone of yourself, into whether it's an older clone or a younger clone, into an ethereal being, into an avatar, really whatever you'd like. As it's been referenced in the past, it's digital immortality. So when I say that, I mean most of the people here are generally younger in cryptocurrency, and NFTs, and I think that's going to be a reality. And even if you think that, well, maybe we're not going to be able to achieve that in the next few years, we have to look at this in macro terms, in terms of decades. And in the same way, we have to think of cryptocurrency in terms of decades. So look at what cryptocurrency. We've only given it 1 decade. We haven't had mass adoption yet, and look at it. It's already created many overnight millionaires. So I think the same could be true if we give it another decade.
You can keep making multiple out there. As long as I get to play very few, hit them and they get down. It's incredible. Crazy. The new iPad, imagine on it, pretty simple. It's incredible. This is now how they do it for wherever you get your podcast. Still incredible this year.
That's my plan. But I have in the past worn like what police body cam has been, and so I have the same plan to do that with glasses once this gets big. I imagine people will want to grow up together. Essentially, they'll want to see what I'm doing on a daily basis. I mean, I think I'll be a very famous person, and perhaps the wealthiest person in the world at one point, if that actually happens. Just because I will have such an influence. There are some other aspects of this that I think are very exciting as well. For those of us who have lost a loved one, I think that there may be the opportunity for what's called revivification, which is essentially the idea if you have their DNA of any kind, so like you have, someone's old hat or someone's old scarf or anything that has their DNA on it, the idea of taking that DNA and putting it in a machine and perhaps being able to clone them and to accelerate their development to the point where they would be the same age as whatever they would be relative to you is an actual reality that may occur someday. And then additionally, the ability to use VR or virtual reality to be able to interact with those who have died in the past in the meantime. So essentially, you can take pictures of people who have passed, but even even perhaps if you had their DNA, a machine could be able to replicate that, and you could be able to have some type of, at some point, an artificial conversation with those who have died. And then I really think in reality, you might be able to bring them back. This brings up all kinds of interesting topics as to what a person's like. Do you have a right to die and a right to not be revivified? But I think these are all going to be questions that are available to our generation, and if not ours, few generations, and not too distant future. I think that it's a very exciting future for all of us.
Do you have the authority to go across the border, or do you also have to because I think people get confused when they see in the movies and how you operate. In something like this, do you have the authority to go into a country that you have a treaty with or even have a mutual agreement with? So we have a legal facility and FBI. So they're already doing that, and they are working with locals. So in terms of authority to make arrests, subpoenas, or legal action within the country, we work with U.S. attorney's offices through a mutual treaty where we can get information that we need for prosecution. But we're not going all the way to people indoors. Sometimes we might be invited by certain countries to participate in an interview. We federal change problem too, which is if there's a ransom made, we have the authority to do it. In the United States. But then, your counterparts in Mexico, it seems probably work with in many times before these very same cases, these types of cases, and probably some that are even worse in terms of homicides or things like that. That process is working with your counterpart? Are they very forthcoming in the reason of note in Mexico about this situation with Ms. Lopez? If you feel the way that your agencies down there, the counterparts in Mexico are pretty aggressive and they're working the case, do you feel like you're going to be getting some insight from that?
It's definitely a legitimate concern. If you give humans enough time, everything is possible, essentially. So we have to think that even if we say that you should have a right to die, give it 2 or 3 centuries, and public opinion may change. That the people then may say, we don't think anyone has the right to die, and we want to revivify everyone. We want to essentially bring back everyone throughout history. And we don't necessarily have that great a grasp on this currently, but the idea of time travel may be an actuality. I mean, certainly at CERN and some other places where um, you have accelerators, they've been able to, in some ways, in like very minute amounts of time, be able to create some types of time travel, and that may be a reality in the future as well. I mean, I'm just someone who is very bullish on the future, but I certainly understand your concerns, Proto. I think though that really, if you have infinite amount of time, everything is possible. And if you have people who have nothing else to do with their lives but learn about the past, they will be intrigued enough to perhaps either revivify everyone who has died, or perhaps at least in one way or another reincarnate them. Perhaps whether it's just through their memories or they're maybe a digital persona of theirs. But we can't really control what people of the future will do. I mean, there are people, let's just say, how I think of this, you have like Roman laws had, like probably, I don't know all the Roman laws, but I'm talking about like the civilization of Rome, that would say that you shouldn't touch a body once it's dead. Well, thousands of years have passed, and we have archaeologists who go in and have absolutely no regard for those laws and will go in to study them in one way or another. I feel as if the same may be true of future generations of ours, that we may say, well, you have a right to die and no one should ever be able to revivify you. and no one should ever be able to reincarnate you. But give it 1,000 years or 2,000 years, and those people may not respect our laws anymore, and will do it nonetheless. It is quite an interesting discussion, and I want you to know, Proto, I certainly understand your concern. I just don't know if future civilizations will have the same concern that you currently have, or that people currently would have, to essentially and just allow people to die. Well, you're absolutely right that there are some people, particularly your grandmother, who have been perhaps living in a depression since she lost her spouse. But she may not be aware of what we potentially may be able to achieve, likely not in her lifetime. But that doesn't necessarily mean that we wouldn't be able to revivify her, revivify your grandfather, and perhaps give them the same type of love and feelings that they once had. And the way that you would do that is, and I know when we're talking about the soul, how do we define the soul? Let's define the soul. I define the soul as the well, let's define the human body. So you have the human body, all the physical parts. The soul to me is essentially what we would download from that brain scan. Essentially the the atoms that would be in your brain that make up your brain, that make up your personality, your charisma, your behavior. All of those things that we would download into a computer, I define that as a soul. If other people want to define soul as something else, you absolutely can. I don't think that we have a strict definition of this. But what I'm saying is that when we do mind uploading and we scan your brain, whatever that data is, I would consider your soul. If we were able to take data of your grandmother and your grandfather and put that back into a revivified body of theirs using their DNA, I think your grandmother may change her opinion on the matter. Now, do I know that for a fact or not? No, I don't. But she's been living essentially a hollowed life since she lost her husband, and perhaps there may be the opportunity one day to reunite them. And I think that's a beautiful thing. This type of technology also will change, I feel, the way that we view our lives and what a human life is. So currently, there are things in society known as lifetime contracts. Well, when people start to use life extension technology to extend their life, what is a lifetime? If we're able to uh, surpass the general idea of 120 years of life and make that 200 years or 300 years or 1,000 years or 10,000 years, the idea in contracts of a lifetime agreement will essentially be naught. And so I think that this will change the law. and perhaps give people the idea of more, I would say, um, temporary ideas of what a contract can be. Also, when it comes to a wedding, it's usually till death do you part. Well, what happens when you have people who don't part? If they're able to, let's say in 200 years, not die. So I am actually an advocate for the idea of a marriage that is no longer essentially forever, because that would be a punishment if you had to be with the same person forever and you could live as long as you want. So these would be temporary marriage contracts of, like, let's just say 7 years. Usually psychologically, people have what's called the 7 year itch. Basically, no matter who the partners are, whether they want to admit it or not, everyone kind of gets sick of their partner after 7 years. So you could get married for 7 years, and let's say you love your spouse. Well, go get married for another 7 years, and you still love your spouse. Keep getting married for 7 years. But essentially, every marriage shouldn't necessarily end up the same way, which is as basically a divorce or death of the partner. This would give people more options. And then no one says that you can't be married to someone for 21 years and then go marry another person for another 7 years and then go back to your original partner and fall in love with them. It just gives people more freedom. And truthfully, when we don't know what the future can, the future has in store for us, and we may be living 200, 300, 400, 500 year long lives, it's really in actuality a punishment to be married for someone until death do you part. And so I'm just someone who's a forward thinker, and I think that really once this type of discussion of mind uploading technology becomes at the forefront of human existence, some of the things that we may see change in contractual law are lifetime agreements and also marriage, indefinite marriage contracts. I just wanted to contribute that as well.
It's exactly how we were doing from the beginning. It's been a wonderful ride. This is Steve Director. During my assignment, this is the first time the people that I meet. If you'd like to help them, go to am640.com/.
Proto, would you say that, like, in the course of your marriage, after 7 years, you basically were both sick of each other and perhaps you could find other mates?
The case of the missing man in Mexico and the way that localized before the break agent. We just wanted to get a little bit about your counterparts in Mexico and how you work with them, the level of cooperation, a lot of the stereotyping that the law enforcement in Mexico is corrupt. You're saying that all of the experiences thus far in your counterparts that's been with your counterparts down there when somebody's trying to navigate what they do. Is that fair assessment? Absolutely. And then, does it make it so deep in Mexico? Because when you're talking about the northern border, and those places where we're closest to, is there a logistical challenge with it being so deep down there? I think it's presented from the state of it's near I think the only difference I would make is maybe units in Mexico would be more experienced with these matters. So what is really important is this is an uncommon law in this part of Mexico. Whereas I would a lot of times believe it's making closer to the corner than down to I don't know. You can make a difference in business or is it So how many cases like this do you deal with
I'm in agreement with you. Fortunately, my grandparents were married more than 50 years. My parents have been married more than 40 years. And I would love everyone to be able to find kind of soulmate just like that. And I think you still can. The idea would just be you renew your marriage contract every year if you wanted, every 7 years if you wanted. But people shouldn't feel tied into these things or have the social stigma of what divorce can cause. And I want everyone to find their soulmate. And if you have your soulmate out there, wonderful for you. You can continue to marry them under this hypothetical idea. You could continue to marry them and just keep your contract being renewed. But after a certain amount of time, eventually you will get sick of each other. I can tell you, my grandparents got sick of each other. My parents get sick of each other, even though they're still very much in love. At points, there may be people out there who, at one point or another, may want to experiment with someone else and perhaps say, I want to come back to you in a certain amount of years if we're still in love. Uh, just, but we really have to think of things no longer in you're going to die at age 80 or at age 120 at the maximum. Maybe it's age 500. And if it's age 500, you will get sick of that person after 300 years. I can almost guarantee that. You're absolutely right. So there are some perhaps ideas to this. Number one would be diverse, just really diverse creative ideas. So that would be a stimulation, I should say. So that would be like VR headsets. The idea is likely will be moving closer and closer towards a type of scientific socialism where everyone is on a universal basic income and you won't have to work anymore. And then what happens there? Well, then you have virtual reality with all of your friends, and you'd be able to play games and continue to be stimulated. Additionally, there would be new kinds of drugs that would come out to release higher levels of dopamine and serotonin in your brain than you've ever been able to experience previously to make life even better. And then, even more than that, a very sexual partners as well. If people realize that you may be able to live forever, well, if forever is a thing, that means you would by default have sex with every single person on earth eventually, if you give it enough time. So I think that really, as the old saying goes, variety is the spice of life. We will just continue to be able to keep life more varied, but then also we'll be able to manipulate our brains and manipulate our lives so that we don't get bored anymore. There perhaps maybe a way that we can alter the brain so it does not get bored. There's an idea out there known as mind erasure, where you can actually erase uh, perhaps traumatic memories that are in your life. This has been experimented with people with PTSD, people who were molested, um, so that you wouldn't have to live with those memories for the rest of your life. In the same way that we might be able to augment the human brain, and we've already had some success doing that in some ways, we might be able to remove the part of the brain that normally gets bored so quickly and continue to stimulate it so that every day of that 500 years, hypothetically, we're very, very excited and we're very happy. And basically, it's living in a utopia, which is really where I'd like to see the human race. And I think everybody else would as well. I can guarantee it. If you live long enough, you absolutely, and she lives long enough, you absolutely will. Absolutely. Well, you just have to live long enough, and honestly, the way that you get up, you can lock into this is by continuing to buy cryptocurrencies. I really think cryptocurrencies are the future, and really, as most of the people here know, every fiat currency in the history of mankind has failed, and so we need an alternative, and that's where cryptocurrencies come in. And the more cryptocurrency you have, the more opportunities that you'll have. And at least for Pamela Anderson of the 90s, there are several ways that you may be able to get that. One would be she would be able to reverse age. So she'll continue to live, and I'm sure she's well enough off that she would be able to get this technology. And when I talk about reverse aging, that's with stem cells, that's with human growth hormone. These are certainly options so that she may be able to get back that body that she had in her 20s during the 1990s. But then there are also some other options to this. There is a way that there are machines that we will be able to have that will are going to be so good that you essentially wear a headset and the sex will be indistinguishable between sex within this virtual reality system would be indistinguishable than actual real sex with her as a the 1990s starlet that she was, so that your brain would not be able to tell a difference. That is certainly something that we should be able to see within the next 100 years. And I'm not even talking about it would be with a doll. It would be essentially a headset that would release the same amount of pleasure that you normally would experience during sex. It would just be in a virtual, in a virtual way, essentially. So you may be able to do it with her in reality or in virtual reality. You might have multiple choices of that, which is really exciting. I agree. I agree. And so some other things, though, you should, which I think you should be excited, is the ability to make sex better. So as good as sex is right now, there are ways to make it better. And how would that be? Using human growth hormone and stem cells, in particular, the ability to increase the amount of nerve endings that you have in your genitalia. That's one way to do it. Now, a lot of people know that I talk about foreskin restoration. I'm circumcised. I've had a bris, as many Jews have, as many Muslims have, as many people have in the world. And I personally am someone who doesn't think we should be cutting our dicks off anymore. I mean, that's just like a simple thing that is like it's like very controversial in society, particularly within my culture. But I know that a lot of people agree with me that we should not be cutting our dicks off anymore. And at the end of the day, our dicks could have been longer. Now, the idea is that what do you do if you've already been mutilated due to the loss of a foreskin? Well, there's foreskin regrowth, which can be done using stem cells. There's also, and I'm not talking about like stretching, like what kind of skin you have on your penis right now over the glands of the head of your penis. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about literally regrowth, and then also increasing the amount of nerve endings that you have in your genitalia, so that sex is more pleasurable to you, and also an increase in your penis size as well. I mean, look, not all of us can have 10-inch penises like I do, or however big you want to say your dick is. But we all know our dicks could be longer if we wanted them to be, and this is something that can be done using human growth hormone. Essentially, over time, the increase in the length of genitals, and then for women as well, there are some aspects of this that are interesting to them when it comes to the regrowth of their hymen. So let's talk about women for a second. A lot of times, women lose their hymen during their first sexual activity, but that isn't always the case. Many times, it can also happen during just normal uh, uh, horsing around. It can happen during gymnastics. It can happen while riding a horse, and that's not how they want their first time to essentially be. They the first person who took their virginity was not the man of their dreams or wasn't their husband. So there's the idea that in the same way that a man can regrow their foreskin, a woman can regrow her hymen and essentially be a virgin again. This is a very attractive type of technology for many women, in addition to increasing the amount of nerve endings that they have in their genitalia as well. So this isn't just for men. I am an advocate of sex for of improved sex for women as well, and I really and just removing the taboo of sex. This is something that we discuss on my stream very often: is sexology, the study of sex. It's just considered too taboo for many to discuss, and I don't think it should be anymore. And particularly when it comes to increasing the amount of nerve endings that people have in their genitalia, that's just going to increase the amount of good sex people have, and that's something about which to be excited. I'm all for it, baby. I think that that is something that is important for society. There are many men out there. I mean, the reason why we, without going into the religious aspects of, I mean, we can. I mean, essentially, it's a covenant. It's a symbol of a covenant with between Abraham and God. But we no longer need to necessarily do this to mutilate our youth. And the only reason why we have been doing it, at least in my culture, but many other cultures, is because it happened to our fathers and it happened to our grandfathers, and it's just been passed along. And it takes a lot of courage for someone to stand up and say, I don't think we need to be doing this anymore. At least within Judaism, but perhaps within Islam or whatever your even if you're secular, at least what I would like to do is to what's done during an Orthodox Jewish conversion to someone who has already had a circumcision. You still need to have a bris if you're an Orthodox Jewish convert. And so what is generally done is just a pinprick of blood. And I think it's important perhaps to be in a database of at least Judaically of who's a Jew and who's not, and or who's a human and who's not, whatever, however you want to define it. But no longer should we be removing a very serious part of the human genitalia just because it happened to our family and it happened to previous generations. I'm someone who wants to essentially put their foot down and say we no longer want it, no longer need to do this. And then, fortunately, we have technology out there that will allow us to have regrowth of our foreskin. So I'm all for that type a of a surgery, and really, it's more of a therapy at this point, where you would go through regular treatments of human growth hormone and stem cells to regrow a foreskin, and then from there, increase the amount of of um, of stimulation that you can have in your genitalia by increasing the amount of nerves that you have. People don't know this, but women have approximately 20,000 nerve endings in their clitoris alone. Men, in with someone who has an intact penis, has 5,000. Someone who has a circumcised penis has 1,000. So essentially, for as great of a pleasurable experience as sex is for men to have 5,000 nerve endings there, to women it's about 4 times as good. And to a circumcised man in comparison to a woman, it's about 20 times as good. Just to give you some idea when it comes to nerve endings. But that doesn't mean that if you've had the circumcision, you can't have that 20,000 as much as well. That just will come with time with the increase in the amount of nerve endings that we have in our genitalia.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you so much for that discussion and the message. Yes, it was the force in the room. I don't like it. I'm always jumping off. We have marked my words as been raising his hands in very patient. It's going to be sort of a question, and then I'm going to log out of everybody to join up. I'm going to hit the bed after mark my words. That's the thing. How are you doing, mark my words? This is my first project.
Hi, it's Daddy. It is now 9 o'clock.